New York, you waited 53 years for this, and it finally happened. Because of one man left a bunch of money on the table. Think about that for a second. That's the sacrifice that it takes to win an NBA championship. Let's go. What's good, everybody? Welcome to Front Runner Podcast Collective. This is where we talk like friends, argue like cousins, and still walk out smarter than we came in. I am Vince. I am your host, your occasional hoop therapist, and your absolutely favorite bad influence when it comes to completely reckless NBA overreactions that low-key make perfect sense. We are setting the table. We're getting all the film room observations, grown conversations about how players, coaches, and front office are actually moving in this time continuum that we call hoop life. The blank checks, the contracts, the locker room rumors, the PR spin with the actual verified receipts. We're bringing you the jokes, the advanced math, and the exact barbershop ammo you need to take back straight to your group chats and completely nuke the argument. Numbers and a point of view. This is your spot. Let's go. We are going to do the New York Spurs, an autopsy on what happened. But we're going to celebrate the New York Knicks for a second. Okay? And how we're going to do that is one way and one way only. We're going to start from the beginning. New York sits on top of the basketball world because of one man who chose a ring over the bag. Jalen Brunson. Remember that he signed a contract for 4 years, $104 million. Then he took an extension for 4 years, $156 million. But he left $113 million on the table for roster flexibility that built the championship core around him. So the New York Knicks, after 53 years of walking through the desert, made it out with the Larry O'Brien trophy. Now, if you ask anybody works around this business who is really in tune with what's going on, you ask them about any all-NBA player taking less money. Not just a haircut, not just a slight underpay. We're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about over $100 million. The answer in the modern era is zero. They kept Hart, which they traded for him in 2023, the deadline. They got Bridges. New York said about the picks now. F them picks. That's what they say. They get Mikal Bridges from Brooklyn. They gave up a bunch of first round picks. And then they went out and got Karl Anthony Towns. And the reason why I want to bring up that situation is this. The forgotten Villanova Knick. Shouts out to our guy, Dante DiVincenzo, who's going through his Achilles injury and what have you. But he was basically the casualty of war to bring in the absolute piece that they needed to allow Jalen Brunson to be able to probe the paint like he does, be able to go ahead and put on his myriad of moves and allow him to just do magic in the paint. Because of Karl Anthony Towns' spacing capabilities, the New York Knicks are a championship team at this present time. It all flows back to Jalen Brunson, who was the Finals MVP. Make no mistake about it. We live in an era where You can say that the little guy can't win the championship. Well, if the team is built around him specifically, it's curtailed to him and to him only, you can win. So there is a pathway for the small guard to win. But Jalen Brunson's numbers in the finals was ridiculous. 32.6 points a game, 4.2 rebounds, 4.6 assists. In the Game 5 clincher, my man scored 45 points. I repeat, 45 points. 45, by the way, of the 94. So it wasn't just 45 and they put up 136. No. They needed every point that he could score. He shot over 50% in that game, 14 of 27 from the field. But what my wife will love more than anything on this planet, free throws in her mind are free. 13 of 15 from the free throw line. He scored 15 of his team's final push in the fourth quarter in Game 5. They trailed by 10, by the way. And we'll get into that because that's an overlapping narrative that continued to happen during this series. Tied the NBA record for points by a road player in a series clinching game. He was beaten down very badly. He hobbled off the court after landing on Wemby's foot in the third quarter, which was clearly a landing zone violation. And we'll get to Wemby a little bit later as we talk about the San Antonio Spurs. History will tell us that guards, especially small guards, don't win in the NBA. But our guy standing at, they list him as 6'2". We know he's not 6'2". He's probably more like 5'11", 6 feet at the most. But he's one of 4 players in NBA history to win a Finals MVP. That height or shorter. He joins a list of Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons back in the day, the Bad Boys. Tony Parker of the San Antonio Spurs. And Stephen Curry. You might have heard of him, right? The most dangerous shooter in all of the NBA. The greatest shooter in NBA history. That guy. Coach Mike Brown said this. Everybody kind of mentions his name in passing. They do not seriously enough, but he's a freaking 1A. He's an MVP candidate all the time. And Brunson said this. I put in the time and the effort to be the best player I can be for this team and for this organization. And that's another running narrative with Jalen Brunson, is that he was so humble through the whole situation. He never got up. He never got down. When he had interviews and what have you, he seemed very poised in every aspect of the situation, which is not lost on me. It's one of those things that you sit here, you think about, and you go, look at the other side, and we'll get there. Trust me, we'll get there. If you're tuning in to hear what happened to San Antonio, we will get to the mess a little bit later. Shouts out to Leon Rose, the Knicks president, who came over as an agent. He was an agent. He was the top agent at CAA. He had he decided to go ahead and do the agent to front office move, which sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. Leon Rose never talks to the media. Like, never. He's been there 6 years. I think he's put out a couple statements, but Leon Rose getting in front of a mic just doesn't happen. But shouts out to him because he constructed this team around Jalen Brunson. He was Brunson's agent before taking over the GM job. He's Jalen's godfather, by the way. Rick Brunson, his dad, which was another storyline in this NBA Finals. He obviously was on the coaching staff, and he was, played for the Knicks in 1999, which was their last finals appearance, which is crazy. I walked right to half court and shook Mick Johnson's hand, and then turned around, and my dad was there, and it felt emotional from that point on. Words from Jalen Brunson. Now we can talk about the Nova Knicks, but Josh Hart's contributions, Mikal Bridges' contributions cannot be overlooked. They all obviously played together. They won national titles together. I cannot believe it. How many times have you played like 2K and you had your favorite college team, right? And you tried to piece together some of the dudes that came out of that college and tried to put like a good team together. I know I have done it. For Shilla as an all-star, it's incredible, the testament of the coach's impact. And we're talking about one Jay Wright, who deserves a lot of credit. Jay Wright, if you think about it, he was ahead of the curve in college. He was doing 5-out spacing when that was not cool in college. And now it's just basically adjusted to Jalen Brunson's kind of rhythm and what have you. And this is why this team at this specific moment is the NBA champions. It's because of all the minute details that they put together. Yes, Mikal Bridges did cost a lot of first round picks. Yes, they did make a bold move with Karl Anthony Towns. Yes, they did splice together having Josh Hart on the team, but it's still the others. It's still Mitchell Robinson, which we'll get to. He had incredible offensive rebound to basically seal that deal. But I do want to hit you with a couple things. We did tell you that it was 53 years ago. Let me give you a couple things that were going on at that time. The Knicks had obviously Walt Frazier and Willis Reed. If you are a New York Knicks fan, you know all about these gentlemen. But for the people out there and for the young people out there who do not know Walt Frazier and Willis Reed, these were the cornerstones of that championship team. Walt Frazier was the coolest dude walking Fifth Avenue at that time period. The median household income in 1973 was $10,500. Today, the median income is $90,000. Zach Harper from The Athletic ranked this particular victory as the 4th all-time in scorched drought, behind the Cubs, the Red Sox of 86 years, the curse of the Bambino, and the 52-year drought that the Cleveland Cavaliers had. Fat Joe said this: "I've seen Hasidic Jews breakdancing with black kids outside the stadium. This is the greatest unification of New York City you've ever seen since 9/11. They outscored their opponents by 273 points during that streak. That's an average playoff margin of victory of 14.9, which is an NBA record. And I'm just going to say this close with the Knicks. Jalen Brunson leaving that money on the table. You can sit here and say, that's the cause and effect and what have you, all that. It's not just the money that was left on the table for me. It's just him. It's just, what will it take for us to win? Let's do that. What do I need to do for my team to get over the hump? I'll do that. Do I need to defer to Karl Anthony Towns so he feels like he's part of this team? Well, I'll do that. When Mikal Bridges was struggling with his confidence in the season, and when there were rumors and there was whispers about, well, maybe we need to trade Mikal Bridges, at the end of the year because obviously it's not working. Did Jalen Brunson take a step back Yeah. Did we see more offensive versatility from Mikal Bridges and then regain his confidence? Yeah. The money that he left on the table was excellent, and it did help spur them holding and hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy. But it's all his sacrifices. It's all his leadership. It's his stoic behavior during press conferences and post-game interviews with Lisa Salters that we sit here and we go, wow, man, this dude is stone cold killer. So here's to the group that won the NBA championships, the 2026 New York Knicks. I mean, the absolute picture out in New York City when they won was absolute euphoria. As a Laker fan and somebody who has tasted the victories and had them in abundance in my time of being on this planet, seeing New York City lit up like that is great for basketball. It is great for basketball. I think what Jalen Brunson did is a blueprint for your whoever, your superstar, your son, your offensive son or whatever the case may be on your team to sit there and go, hey, listen, I could take every last dollar. Or, hey, if I take $10 million less, does that help us? Maybe you don't have to take, $113 million off a 4-year contract. Maybe you don't have to do that. Maybe there's a way of you doing this and, you're only taking like $8 million and it impacts them from being over the salary cap or the first apron or whatever the case may be. Maybe it gets you a tax exempt mid-level person, somebody worth like $6-7 million, and they are the rebounder that you need or the guard that puts pressure on the ball that you need. Doesn't have to be a ton of money to build you a championship team. It's just the minute little details that Jalen Brunson puts in every single day to make himself the best player he can possibly be and lead the New York Knicks to this level, which is the championship level. This road is not for everybody, and I don't think we'll start seeing this. This is not a trend that I think we will see in the NBA. But I think there should be some players who think about this more than they do now. I would say that. All right, let's get to the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs had better players. The Knicks had a better team. That's the whole story. Now, Wemby, let's get to it right now. Careers high across the board, 25 points, 11 rebounds, 3.1 blocks. He led the league in blocks third consecutive year. MVP voting. This man had a game in the Western Conference Finals where he scored 41 points, 24 rebounds, and 5 blocks in a double overtime thriller against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He wiped tears of joy away after winning Game 7 against OKC, which we thought at that present time was going, that matchup was basically going to solve who was going to win the NBA Finals, because we thought the winner was coming out of the West. And I'm not going to get up here after the fact and tell you I thought differently. No, I didn't. I thought the winner of OKC and San Antonio were going to be the winners of the NBA Finals. I was proven wrong, because sometimes a team that is cohesive, a team that knows who they are and what their responsibilities are and where they stand on the team, is better than a bunch of guys who are just trying to figure it out. And I don't mean that as shade. I mean that as something that this is something that the San Antonio Spurs can learn from. Game 5, Wemby had 19 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, but he missed 2 critical free throws because he was just gassed. He played 44 minutes in Game 4, and he was visibly exhausted in the fourth quarter, per Jared Weiss of The Athletic. After the finals, he said this: "It's not painful. I'm not running away from that. I'm using that to fuel me. During the series, personally, I think I could have been better in recovering from high of the conference finals. I'm 22 years old. This is my first finals appearance. Hey, is there any question? Will Victor Wembanyama be back to the finals? No. Now, you can tell me all the things because I hear it. I've heard it already. We have no idea when he's going to get back to the finals. And could it take him a couple years? Absolutely, could. Because OKC still is that team, and we're not going to shortchange the champs from last year. They were missing Jalen Williams. They were missing AJ Mitchell, who became a very critical part to their team. There are tweaks that they can make to their team to make them more formidable. And do they have the ammunition to do it? You are absolutely right. They do. They have all the ammunition they need to get themselves back to the NBA Finals. So OKC and San Antonio are 2 teams that I will say right now, we can go ahead and do early overreaction. Do I think that San Antonio and OKC are 2 teams that are absolute contenders next year? You can bet your ass on that. But Victor Wembanyama will be back. How the Knicks wore him down? 2 ways. Towns just being a 5-out shooting destroyed the Spurs in their drop scheme. When we couldn't stay at the rim where there's a legitimate 3-point threat at center position pulling him out. He was out here guarding guards. He was out here guarding wings. Shit, he was out here guarding the popcorn vendor. The dude that was bringing the beer, he was blocking beers to patrons along the way. There's nothing that Victor Wembanyama didn't do to try to bring his team to a championship. But the veer switches, Brunson getting downhill fast enough to force Wemby to switch onto him, sending Fox or Harper onto Cat, and basically he was just gassed. I want to bring this up. 4:34 in Game 4. He floats back into the paint. This is Wemby. Way out of position. It appears to forget Anunoby is behind him. OG drills a 3. At 1:30 left, he couldn't rotate across the paint to contest a crucial Brunson floater because his legs were gone. The Spurs tried to zone in the third and went back to man in crunch time. The Knicks broke them in both ways. The Spurs were and how they lost their processes. Because in the first quarter, they came out like a house on fire in every game. They got leads in every game. They had double-digit leads in every single game of the NBA Finals. But methodically, systematically, the Knicks walked them down. And they walked them down like, oh, no, this is our process. This is what we're doing. It wasn't, oh, let's shoot a bunch of threes and it's a miraculous comeback. Were there threes involved? Yes. But Brunson touching that paint was also part of the process. Because you know what Brunson understood? I know I'm going to sound old now, and that's cool. Sometimes twos are good as well. if you're shooting like ass from 3, go into the paint and get some twos. Get you a mid-ranger that's wide ass open and shoot that thing. Brunson did that. It was just the eroding of the leads, the eroding of the confidence of the San Antonio Spurs that we saw every single game. Did you think I was going to come on here and tell you that San Antonio is this team that is so screwed up and whatever? No, we're not going to overreact like that. The future of the NBA is Wembanyama, but there are some developments that need to happen. He needs 2 moves, go-to moves, before next season. He cannot get worn down by spacing and physicality that he can't solve. My man needs like a Dirk Nowitzki 17-foot fadeaway. Remember, this dude, they say he's 7'4". This dude's like 7'6". We know this. Something without explosion eliminates physical mismatches and what have you. The 22-year-old Frenchman who can already do what Wemby does doesn't need to be taught basketball. He needs to be taught counters. That brings me to my next thing. I'm gonna say this like I'm talking to him myself. My guy, Darren Fox, they signed you to a 4-year, $229 million extension after being traded from the Sacramento Kings. Okay? Media pundits and podcasters were calling for Dylan Harper to start games 4 and 5 because we got tired of seeing Fox make critical blunder. One in specific, with 10 seconds left to go in game 4, he tried to lay it up instead of dribbling out and drawing a foul. What a grave error that was. A rival exec told me that it would take 3 first-round picks to incentivize him to absorb that monstrous and odorous contract that De'Aaron Fox has. NBC Sports, multiple insiders, teams would need to be paid to take Fox, not the other way around. Phoenix has been identified as the most logical landing spot. Talent acquisition mode that Phoenix is in, picks available, reclamation project. See Jalen Green. See Dylan Brooks. And now for the Harper castle of it all. I'm going to say this right now. I'm not going to get hyperbolic about this because I watched the tape again and my first thought was Harper's ready. Give him the keys to the castle. No, that pun was not, because Castle's there too. But what I will say is this. They do need a veteran guard. But I don't know if you need a veteran guard that's going to be making $50 million. You need a guard that's going to counsel these 2 guys, Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. Are they ready to run NBA offense at this point in time? I don't think so, but I do think they're close. They need an OG guard that will be more than willing to share the knowledge, more than willing to share the sugar, more than willing to give them like little nuances and little cheat codes to the game that will help them immensely through their processes at this point in time. Dylan Harper had 25 points in game 5. This dude is 20 years old. The same night that De'Aaron Fox is struggling from the field, 3 of 15, Dylan Harper is getting to the paint at will. Game 4, this dude didn't even touch the ball for the last 10 minutes of the game, which is absolutely criminal. If De'Aaron Fox is the point guard that is like in tune with his team, right? Because that's what I think of a point guard. A lead guard will go, you know what? Dylan Harper hasn't touched the ball in a minute. Let me make sure he gets the feel. Make sure that he gets a good shot. Get him coming down off a pin down and getting downhill into the paint. Oh, Stephon Castle hasn't touched the ball in a minute. Let me get him a nice little, easy little mid-range. Let's do some Spain pick and roll and get him into that mid-range and see if he can go ahead and knock down a shot. By the way, I have a 7'6" absolute alien at center. Let me make sure that he's touching the ball consistently. De'Aaron Fox was a grown-up on that team. He's 29 years of age. Yes, he's been in Sacramento, so that might have stunted his growth as a quintessential lead guard because just the processes in Sacramento have been toxic and have been like just dumbfounding for a long period of time. But I expected more from De'Aaron Fox. I expected that he would be the calming influence on the team that was absolutely... Think about this. Other than De'Aaron Fox in the starting lineup, and then also including Dylan Harper, none of them dudes can rent a car. Not one of those dudes can rent a car on their own. You got to be 25 to do that. Dylan Harper dropped 25 in the closeout game. The media wanted him to start games 4 and 5. A rival exec, we told you, said they will go ahead, take De'Aaron Fox off their hand if you give me 3 first-round draft picks. Do I think that Fox cost Victor a championship? No, but he wasn't helpful. He was not helpful. Do the Spurs need to build around Harper and Castle and allow their developmental runway to flourish? Yeah, but I do think with a caveat. They need to see if they can figure out a way to get a point guard or a lead guard that can help those two guys grow. Because you could stick Stephon Castle at the 3, Dylan Harper at the 2, and then mix and match and allow those guys to touch the ball and have times and spurts where they are actually the lead guard. But they definitely need an OG point guard that has like the Jedi mind tricks and what have you. Wemby needs a De'Aaron Fox next to him to win, or does he need space to let him and the next generation breathe? It's a $229 million question, actually. Y'all discuss in your group chats about that situation. Alright, now we need to get to the next segment, and I'm super hyped about this segment. We call this segment the Full Court Press. We need to get ourselves ready and understand that now that the championship is over, it is time to worry about trades and reckless speculation about what's going on. But we got real news and notes. And just because I'm that guy, I'm going to give them to you. So, let's start with Giannis, because that's where we need to start with. Milwaukee ownership wants a decision before the 23rd and 24th of the draft. That means they want to trade him. Bill Simmons said that the Celtics made a firm offer in the past week, scaring the whole entire NBA world. Both Miami and Boston reportedly have made firm offers in front of the Bucks before the NBA draft. Now, the Miami package, everybody's heard it, is Tyler Hero, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., the 13th pick, and plus unprotected first in 2026, 2029, and 2030. Giannis reportedly is focused on Miami personally, but I think that he would prefer to be in Boston, because Boston, even if they do give up what they want to give up, which is Jalen Brown plus picks, plus role players, i.e. Sam Hauser or Peyton Pritchard, they would still be better left as far as the cupboard being not bare to go ahead and get him to contendership, which that's what he wants. The critical problem with Jaylen Brown being moved is this. Jaylen Brown makes $57.1 million. Giannis makes $54.1 million. Cap matching is a big issue, so it will take a third team to go ahead and get that done. Milwaukee reportedly has zero interest in keeping Jaylen Brown. They are in a full rebuild, folks. Get ready for long winters and get ready for Milwaukee Brewers baseball in the spring. Y'all need to talk about the Green Bay Packers up there, and y'all also need to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers up there, because right now you guys are not going to be winning a lot. Let's keep that in mind. The other team that we heard about is the Atlanta Hawks, and they hold favorable swaps rights on Milwaukee's 2026 and 2027 first round picks, and they are positioned to benefit regardless of which direction this goes. The potential role that Atlanta will be playing is being the facilitator in a 3-team deal, structuring sending Jaylen Brown to the Atlanta Hawks and Atlanta sending assets to Milwaukee. He's being courted by Miami, Boston. Some people say still Golden State. Some people still say there's another dark horse team in there. And I'm not just talking about Minnesota. I'm talking about there's another dark horse team in there. As far as concerned, we will have more information on that on Friday. But both these teams have monster packages. But here's the question that nobody's asking out loud. If the best package wins, so Miami wins, if it's a personal choice wins, Giannis is already in Boston. Can Miami up their offer? Is there a third team that can get involved and make this happen for them? Is Portland the piece that Miami needs to get this taken care of? Does somehow, and actually here's the thing, for my Laker fans out there, I want you to listen closely. If Miami wins this and Giannis goes to Miami, we're involved. The Lakers are involved. And it's not a 3-team trade. It's a 4-team trade. The Lakers get Khalil Ware in this deal. Milwaukee would end up with some of their picks back from Portland, who owns some of their picks, and a Laker pick. Probably something like 2031 or 2033. But that's just a little, food for thought. So you know what's going on. Now, let's get to the other angles of this deal. All right. We got a Clipper situation brewing. Per Grant App staff, Giannis to Boston, Jaylen Brown to the Clippers for the number 5 overall pick in this year's draft to Milwaukee. So the Clippers want a taste of this. The Clippers acquired the number 5 pick from the Indiana Pacers in the Zubac deal in the last trade deadline. This structure solves Boston's problem. Milwaukee doesn't want Brown, so LA absorbs him. Camp mechanics are still the sticking point because of the fact that the Brown contract is a little bit more than the Giannis contract, but if the Clippers got involved, presto changeo is fixed. Now, the Kawhi factor in all this, we still waiting on news on the circumvention of the cap regarding Kawhi Leonard. So, I wonder how that's going to work. I wonder. We will see. We will see. So, if Jaylen Brown lands in La La Land and not to the Lakers, which we don't have enough to get them. Because we definitely don't have a number 5 overall pick in this year's draft, which is absolutely stacked. And we'll get to it in a second. But is the pick, because it's not in the top 4, is that pick tantalizing enough to get the Clippers over the hump to be in this deal? I don't think so. I think the Clippers holding to the number 5 pick in a loaded draft is a key piece to unlocking a lot of deals. Just not necessarily the Giannis deal. I can understand the Clippers moving on from that pick, maybe getting more picks back, because people want to be in this draft instead of other drafts. But I wouldn't take this deal if I was the Bucks. We're going to talk a lot about a lot of teams coming up, but we get to the draft, I want to talk about one other thing. I knew this day was coming. I knew it was coming. So the Brooklyn Nets have made an offer to Austin Reaves. So it's 4 years, $178.5 million. Brooklyn is ready to max out Reaves and create real leverage when it comes to pushing the Lakers to do something. And that time is coming. So here we are. Now, with all that being said, we got to talk about LeBron. So LeBron is wanting his money. Or he'll go and play for the Warriors. Or we just stop this. We can just stop the drama. Hey man, if you want to play for us, cool. If you don't want to play for us, that's cool too. The thing about it is that LeBron is 41. He'll be 42 early in the season next year, towards the end of 2026. So the Luka era is here. I mean, we're not gonna sugarcoat the whole situation. And and the thing that is bothering me is this: is that you live in Los Angeles. Your family is entrenched in Los Angeles. Could you easily move back to Cleveland? Yeah, you could. Do you want to? No, you don't. Do you want to take a flight from San Francisco to LA? Just see your kid and wife or whatever? Man, I guess you could do that. It's not far. Is Bronny going with you? Because that's going to take a trade. And Golden State's going to have to give up a real asset to take on Bronny. So with all the breadcrumbs that are leading to this situation, I think what LeBron really wants is the one thing that the Lakers don't want to give him, is that he wants agency in what the Lakers are going to do if he takes less money. But the last time he had agency in what the Lakers were going to do was Russell Westbrook. And we know how that all turned out. So, pardon the Lakers, pardon Rob Pelinka for being a little bit skittish. Also, under new management, under new ownership. So guess what? Guess whose job, is on the line? Would you want to give autonomy to your second best player? Or, with all reports being said, they want to build around Luka. So, of course, it's what Luka needs and what Luka wants. And that's not a bad thing, because when it's built around him right, he got to the NBA Finals. He was a scary dude. He was just scary. So, I don't believe that LeBron wants to leave. I don't believe that when push comes to shove, this dude gonna get max money. It's hard for me to really stomach that situation. I understand that he's worth a lot of money. I understand that he's worth a lot of money to this franchise once he decides that he wants to retire. I get all of that. I'm not saying anything about that, but it's a complete contradictory if you're telling me you want to win, but you're not willing to take a pay cut at this advanced age. You can sit there and say, hey, back in the day, I'm not taking a pay cut because you were the sun in the solar system, right? But now, you're a piece. Now, are you an integral piece? Yeah, I will give you that. You averaged 20 points a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists last year. You did work as a 41-year-old. But to sit here and talk about how you need agency in what's going on and how it's going to work for you when you have a 27-year-old Luka Doncic who just came off averaging over 30 points a game last year, that's a little far-fetched for me to believe. We are going to pivot to the draft. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about players right now, and then we're going to do a really big draft situation on Friday and next Tuesday before the NBA draft. So we're going to have wall-to-wall draft coverage in the next 2 pods, but this is a little taste to whet your appetite for what's to come. And I can't wait to get into it, so let's do it. We are going to start off with right now, because I took a composite of what's going on with all the rumors that are going on around here. And AJ DeBanza is the number 1 pick in the draft as of right now. So, what do you get with AJ DeBanza? I'm sure you've heard all the stuff, but let's give it to you anyway, because people like height, people like wingspan, people like standard reach. They want to know the numbers, so we'll give it to you. AJ DeBanza is 6'8.5", 217 pounds. He has a 7'1.5" wingspan. He's the best combination of upside and floor in this class. Our guy, Sam Vecini, has him as his number 1 overall dude in the draft. One of only 2 players in college basketball history with 25 points, 50% field goal percentage, and average 8+ free throw attempts a game. Michael Beasley was the other guy. And that dude was a problem. Couldn't get it together in the pros, but absolute beast in college. The numbers go as such are scary. 25.5 points a game. Almost 7 rebounds and almost 4 assists. Now, his shooting percentage was 51% from the field, 33% from 3, and 77% from the free throw line. There's a lot to him. And this is the thing that I want to get to, is that he shot 46.9% on mid-range jumper. He shot 50.7% from 10 to 18 feet. That's NBA starter level production. And then the thing that we just talked about is the foul drawing. He did this in the under 19 international games where the U.S. won the gold medals. This dude was constantly getting to the free throw line. And I'm not talking about flopping. I'm not talking about exaggerating. I'm talking about sheer speed and power getting to the rim, and you had no other choice but to foul this dude. He's a rare wing at any level. Now, there will need to be some passing growth when it comes to it. And he did do that throughout the season. He was a 4.5 assist guy in his final 10 games. So you could see that he went, he steadily went up and up throughout his collegiate 1 year in college. So that's good. Some of the concerns about our guy. 3-point shooting. 36% is 33.1% at college. He was only 30.1% in catch and shoot situations. So there is some growth that needs to happen there. His handle is a little loose versus chest-to-chest defenders. He doesn't always separate beyond a contested pull-up. His defensive anticipation for the athletic profile that he has, he only averaged 1.1 steals and 0.3 blocks. For his physical tools, that doesn't even seem right. Just my opinion. In my opinion, only from watching the tape. So he's going to have to get better with his anticipation. He's going to have to get better with his reads off rotation, off ball. Vicini says that his floor is Jalen Brown's pre-breakout 22 points per game, score a switchable on defense, messy off ball, still borderline all-star value. His ceiling is all NBA MVP track wing. So all those things are in there. Here's what I'm gonna say is that he's a guy that I think wants to be great. He's gonna put the work in. I'm really shaky on just the rotations off ball. Now, I think that once he gets into an NBA program and they say, okay, this is the defensive game plan and these are the principles to the defense that we want to play, and then you can allow the athleticism to kind of just play out, I think this will get better. But the 0.3 blocks per game for somebody as athletic as AJ DeBanza is absolutely baffling to me, and I don't understand it. I don't. So, what do I think of AJ DeBanza? If you pull up one of the most statistically dominant freshman seasons that we've ever seen in college basketball, looks great. But when you start poking at the numbers and when you start trying to figure out who he is and what he is, there is a lot of room to grow. Now, that could also sound devastating. That could also sound very scary as far as what he could be. And I think that at some point he'll get to certain levels. But I wonder about the defensive end. I wonder, does that all come around? Because some players just don't have the aptitude for some reason to play defense compared to their athleticism. And he might be one of those guys. That doesn't make him a bad player. It doesn't make him not an all-star. It doesn't make him not an all-NBA player. What it makes him is that you're going to have to put some pieces around him on the defensive side of the ball. Shit, we're doing it for Jalen Brunson. I guess we can do it for AJ DeBanza if he's scoring high 20s or low 30s. Because he does have that capability. He has the capability of scoring 30 points a game. Just due to his free throw attempts that he's going to have. Now, let's move on to the most polarizing guy in this draft to me. And people will sit here and say, oh, well, Vince, you're being a curmudgeon. Oh, Vince, you're being old. But before you jump on me, let's give you the scoop on Darren Peterson. Our guy is standing at 6'4.5" 6'9", almost 6'10" wingspan, and he has a standing reach of 8 feet 7 inches. Now, There's no doubt that this dude can be an elite shooter with all NBA scoring guard upside, a la Donovan Mitchell on the attacking style. The Kansas tape was a absolute, it was breathtakingly scary because it just did not look like the same dude in high school. It was like, I don't even know who that dude is type of situation. Now, the numbers at Kansas. 20.2 points a game. 4.2 assists. 4.2 rebounds a game and 1.6 assists a game. On 44, 38, 83 splits. He was 47.7% on catch and shoot threes at Kansas on 4 attempts, while drawing the toughest defender every single night. He was 42% on pull-up threes at Prolific High School on 5 attempts per game. The floater game was at 41% on 2 attempts per game per synergy. His mid-range growth was 42.9 at Kansas versus 26 to 37% in his high school and AAU settings. He was an active defender, but here's the concerns. They kind of said that he was a lead guard, but that really collapsed at Kansas. Now, we're going to talk about the injuries and what have you in the spacing role a little bit later on down the line. His limited rim pressure was also alarming. Under 2.5 rim attempts per game. For somebody as dynamically athletic as Darren Peterson is, it was alarming to see his athleticism just get sapped. It looked like, literally like old school Space Jams when the Monstars took the NBA powers from all the NBA All-Stars in Space Jam. I was like, I don't even know who this dude is. What is going on? Now, durability and availability was a problem all year. If it wasn't the hamstring, it was the quad. If it wasn't the quad, it was an ankle sprain. If it wasn't an ankle sprain, it was the flu. There was all types of situations where Darren Peterson could not be on the court. Now, character due diligence. I'm going to shout out our girl, Kristen Peak, who is one of the best in the game. She's a tier 1 when it comes to knowing these guys and following them around high schools and going to gyms and being at gyms at 6:30 in the morning and talking to AAU coaches, talking to high school coaches, and talking to the college people. But Kristen Peak says this: his aloofness has come up in team draft meetings. He's a projected top 3. But the guy in high school is more of who Darren Peterson is. And she says that his competitiveness and his will to win is something that was always on display in high school. And she doesn't doubt that that's who the guy really is. And this was just a weird year at Kansas. Kristen Peak, she is good. We love her analysis, and we love what she does. Keep on doing your thing. Now, here's my deal. Peterson, his camp reportedly says they're only working out for the Washington Wizards. Note to Utah, Memphis, and Chicago. That means you will be drafting him without hosting him. The Harden-Kawhi precedent, stars who are drafted by teams, and I'm taking a little, giving you a little leeway on the analogy here. There's a lot of times where teams draft a guy and they never see him. They never have him in the building, and whatever the case may be. Usually it's not with one of the top 3 or 4 picks. Usually it's with somebody is selected 17th overall. Usually it's somebody picked 25th overall, something like that. But it's never the guy who's drafted in the top 3. Especially in a stacked draft where we're talking about supposedly generational talents and things of that nature. So I want to go ahead and give you that overall view before I get into this. He's saying basically non-Washington teams taking Peterson top 3 are making a talent bet and a disengagement and risk bet simultaneously. Here's my thing. Whether the Kansas deal was a real injury, load management, or the creatine defense that Darren Peterson or Darren Peterson's camp wants to give you, he was being paid to play at Kansas. He was paid to his star level. He was paid to his what they envisioned him to be at Kansas. He was paid to lead a Kansas team to the Final Four and what have you. But that did not happen. And then here's the thing that I want to go ahead and close this out with. If you are a president or a vice president of player personnel, and you're holding a top 3 pick, and your investigators are telling you the aloofness keeps coming up in team meetings, how do you sell this to your owner on this kid? The talent is undeniable. I will sit here and say, hey, if Kristen Peak is telling me that the high school tape is more like what the guy is going to end up being, I believe that. But can you really risk taking a guy sight unseen, never having him in the building? And I want to bring this up because people will say it doesn't matter. It does matter. We're talking about Utah and Memphis here. Okay, we're not talking about Los Angeles. And I know people are saying, oh, well, of course you're going to shine up Los Angeles because that's where you're from and you like the Lakers and blah, blah, blah. No. Hold on. If this was Portland, this would be a problem. If this was Indiana, this would be a problem. You know, another like, maybe even San Antonio. Now, they got Wemby, but it's different now. But if it was just San Antonio, and there are no shades to these cities and these basketball hotbeds, but we all know that free agency does not come around for places like this. Free agency doesn't land a generational talent like LeBron, or Luka's not going to Portland. He's not going to Utah. He's not going to be spending his basketball season in Memphis. No shade to those areas, no shade to those franchises. You know, and I know that free agency is not your bag. It is draft and development. But can you really stake your reputation to a guy who was getting paid at Kansas, played only 20 games, took himself out of games regularly, and also took himself before games out of the game with big opponents, like primetime games and what have you. He was getting paid to play at Kansas. You're going to pay him in the NBA. My thing is this. What happens if something goes wrong in that NBA city that's not New York, that's not Miami, that's not like Dallas, Texas, that's not like Houston, that's not like Atlanta? I'm gonna leave LA out of it, okay? I'm gonna leave LA out. How about, if it's not San Francisco, if it's a place like Indiana, if it's a place like Memphis and Utah, who do have the picks behind the Washington Wizards. And I find it interesting that the only place that he will visit, the only place that he will work out at is in D.C., which is a major metropolitan. Movers and shakers are all around that place. I'm sorry, Memphis. I'm sorry, Utah. It is what it is. It would just be really hard for me. I don't deny the talent. I don't think that he's a bad guy. But there are questions to me. And I might be all by myself on this. And this kid could come into the league and be awesome. And you could tell me about Ace Bailey not wanting to go to Utah. And he wanted to go to Washington. It was completely obliterated that he didn't. And then he played well in Utah. It all worked out. That's great. That's great. But we know they're not all built that way. So again, buyer beware when it comes to Darren Peterson. Now let's get to Cameron Boozer. Cameron Boozer is pretty close to a can't-fail offensive prospect. The only reason he's not number one is his skill set profiles as a number two type of star. That's what our guy Sam Vicini said. First player in college history, any class, to average 22 points a game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists on 55% field goal percentage over 20 plus games per Sports Reference. Yes, sir. Our guy was sick with it. He was absolutely sick. This dude was a bucket, and it was just instant offense. 22.5 points a game, 10.2 rebounds. He also was basically like the point guard. 4.1 assists on 55.6% shooting overall from the field. But here's the other thing. He shot 39.1% from three. He shot 79% free throws. On the defense, the rebound rate jumped from 2.8 to 5 on offense with him on the floor. The shooting breakout, 39.1% from three at Duke, 38.2 on catch and shoot, 42.6% on pull-ups. As a senior, high school senior, in real volume, you know, he shot it really well there too. He's just been this guy all his life. As a passer, again, with consistent as he can absolutely be. And here's the best part. He was almost 2-to-1 on assist to turnover rate. Reads, rotations, hits the extra pass. He's looking for a great shot, not a good shot. He's a team defender. 1.4 steals a game. And 0.6 blocks at Duke. Now, in high school, he had 1.5 steals a game and 1.4 blocks in his high school, but he was physically more dominant than everybody in high school, so it's kind of take those with a grain of salt. I think he's closer to the college numbers. But the one thing that I want to say about this, about Cam Boozer, is this. The 10.2 rebounds for me is the biggest thing. Because if you can rebound in college, you can rebound in the pros. It's effort. That's what it is. And here's the thing. That's going to play wherever he goes. This dude is going to rebound. Is he going to score? I think the scoring will 100% come. But he's going to rebound at a high level. And if you don't think that's important, I give to you the San Antonio Spurs, who lost 4-1 in the finals. You got to rebound at a high rate. It's just a thing. I didn't make the rules. It just is what it is. The concerns is his limited vertical explosiveness. Not much pop off of 1 or 2 feet. 25-26 was his worst finishing season statistically. He struggled against length. See the Virginia tape when he went against on USO. He's stiffer in the hips versus guards and wings in space. So he's going to have to be like a team. He's going to have to be a team defensive type of guy. Center field type of dude playing free safety. People say that he doesn't have self-creation or his shake is limited. I think that's because that he put on like 15 to 20 more pounds as he got to college. If he goes down back to about 230, I think you'll see some of the wiggle and some of the athleticism and some of the flexibility come back to him. So it will really depend on what the team thinks and what have you. They might allow him to play at 250 this year and then make the decision on what he could and should be in the following years. I'm going to say something, and it might sound hyperbolic. Boozer is Jokic light. He might be a tier below that, but the offensive hub, the multi-time all-NBA production potential, if the defensive fit resolves itself, he did everything at Duke. Point guard, best rebounder, clutch basket, made the right pass, always had a timely score when the other team was on a run. He was an absolute leader. Yes, they didn't win the tournament, but he took them as far as he could. So Cameron Boozer, to me, might have the highest floor of anyone in this draft. Vicinity says he's a can't-fail offensive prospect. He's historically efficient. He passes, he rebounds, he shoots. The knock on him is that he won't blow past people athletically. I, again, still push back on that because it's not that he is out of shape at 250. This dude is built and get some of that explosiveness back. Yeah, I think so. I think he could do that. Now, he might not have the DeBanza upside or the Peterson ceiling. But if you take Boozer, you're going to sleep well at night because of his floor. You know what you're going to get. Yeah, he might not ever reach the heights of DeBanza, or he might not reach the ceiling of what Darren Peterson can be, because there are things out there about Darren Peterson that people are saying that Peterson is Kobe Bryant-esque. I don't think you should ever use that unless you are absolutely sure. Because Kobe Bryant was a maniacal worker. Kobe Bryant didn't want to miss games. This dude walked off the court after he tore his Achilles. He walked off the court under his own power. He didn't have two dudes helping him to the locker room. That dude walked off the court like he was taking a Sunday stroll with a torn Achilles. Now, is he a legend? Yes. But Peterson only played 20 games at Kansas, so I don't want to hear about his Kobe-esque type situation. I don't want to hear it. Here's what I'm going to say about Caleb Wilson, and then we're going to close this out. I like Caleb Wilson. I think, obviously, because of the injury, we didn't get to see the whole situation with him. But I do have some questions. But the numbers were astounding. He averaged damn near 20 points a game. He also was a high rebounder guy. He was 9.5 boards, 2.7 assists on 57.8% field goal percentage. But that was all basically close to the rim. He shot it at 68.2% at the rim. My man has 66 scintillating dunks. Second in the country. First among high major freshmen. He averaged 2.8 offensive rebounds a game as a non-center. His relentless glass pursuit was absolutely astounding. I loved it. He was second behind AJ DeBanza in free throw attempts per game at 7.5 as a freshman in the country. His athletic tools speak for themselves. 1.4 steals a game and 1.5 blocks. He was absolutely explosive on rotations on the weak side. Here is my pushback. His jumper at this point in time is theoretical. He only had 27 attempts from 3, all season. He hit 25%, 26% of those. He only shot 31.5% on all his jumpers per synergy. His free throw shooting was only 71.3%, and that's one of the biggest indicators on whether you think that his 3-point shot will come around. It's usually if they're shooting a low percentage from 3-point land and they're shooting like 80% from the free throw line, you're like, you know what? It's just mechanics. The touch is there. It's just mechanics. But the 71.3% does not leave me warm and fuzzy on the inside. The mechanics are hitchy. That's the only way I can put it. There's a pause at the top, and his leg kick from momentum needs a full season of a shooting rebuild. But there's no question about if this dude is going to bang the boards, get offensive rebounds, and putbacks. Now, he did this at 6'9", 210 pounds at college. If he's going to do this in the pro game, his athleticism is going to have to play up. Because there are going to be more physical dudes out there that he's going to play with. Now, they talk about his defense, and I will say this. I thought in the open court or in the perimeter, his hips look really tight. And his turn and chase in pick and roll coverage showed that his hips were tight because he didn't get back to his assignment, which is the big rolling to the rim. The other thing I will say is that if he was on the weak side and he saw somebody coming down the lane, he was going to get you. He was going to either deter the shot, block the shot, or put you so off balance that you definitely weren't going to make that shot. Is he worth the top 4 pick? Yeah, absolutely. But this is a bigger bet than the surface numbers suggest. You're betting on the work ethic, and you're betting on the offensive polish that is to come. Not the production you already seen. Because here's the thing. If he can't space the floor, then he is not a corner. He's in the dunker spot the whole time. And if you don't have a stretch big, which there aren't a lot of those out there, this is not the guy for you. Unless he can improve the 3-point shot. So, that's the case on our guy, Caleb Wilson. And with that going on, we're going to close this out. And what I want to say to everybody out there is that we talked our talk, we emptied our clip. If FRPC is your spot, do us a favor. Share this episode with one of your friends in your group chat who needs to hear it the most. Pull up on us at X. That's at FrontRunnerPC. That's at socially_FRPC. That's where the rest of the gang hangs out. And then hit us up on YouTube. The YouTube channel is at FRPC Vince. Because there will be clips from this podcast up on there within the next 2 days. Now, before we get out of here, I want to say this. We haven't been on the air for a while. And one of the reasons we haven't been on the air for a while is that addiction takes a toll on people. And unfortunately, we have somebody in our midst. I'm still sober. I'm still clean for 9 years. Thank God. It's all God. I don't have nothing to do with it. I just get up every day and try to do the best I can. But it took a toll. And we're trying to get this person help. And they just seem to not want it. So, my wife was going through it. I'm glad to be back. I think that from here on out, you will get this twice a week. I am sure of that. And we are going to put the best product out there that the NBA podcast world has ever seen. So I want to say this to you guys. I mean this every time I say it. The best part of you is still you. Not your win-loss record, not your timeline, not your algorithm, just you. Surround yourself with people who actually give you light. The ones who bring the insight, the joy, and real accountability. That's your max deal. Appreciate them out loud. Don't wait on a later that nobody has promised you. We're your hoop family here at FRPC. We're going to get loud. We're going to be wrong sometimes. And we're going to come back and own it. But we are always respecting your brain, because anybody can yell a take, but very few actually can defend a thought. Until the next episode, keep your mind sharp, your heart open, and your circle tight. Protect your peace like cap space, and never waste it on bad basketball or bad energy. We are FRPC, and we're out.